Here it is.
Height! Time to celebrate. Johnson and Height in the middle. Get it done. And Taft wins 25-21.
Hello and welcome to our first ever volleyball preview show on KLCS. I'm Randy Rosenbloom. For the next hour, we will discuss the teams and leagues in the Los Angeles Unified School District. We will also look at the top individual players who will make this girls' volleyball season a very special one. Last year, we witnessed the Taft Toreadors stun the defending champion San Pedro Pirates and win their first city title. Perhaps we will see another Cinderella story develop this season. One thing is certain, girls volleyball in the city section will be exciting and well played. To help us sort out the 2007 season, let's meet our distinguished panel of coaches. First, Mr. Red Card from Verdugo Hills, Will Reinhardt. Will, how are you?
Ooh, Alex, you said you were going to have fun, but already starting on me, Randy. I'm doing very well, thanks. Speaking of red, it's red hot, and I think this season's going to be a fantastic one for the city section. A lot of opportunities for a lot of teams.
But you are the Bobby Knight of coaches, right, in the city section?
The John Wooden. Okay. The John Wooden, Randy. I've turned a new page, okay?
That's good. Monica Hernandez, always successful at Carson. Monica, good to have you.
Thanks, Randy. It's a pleasure to be here.
Okay, and then we have Elias Gomez from Elizabeth. The Bulldogs won the Small Schools Championship last year. Congratulations. You beat a good Annenberg team in the finals.
Thank you, and we're looking forward to another good season this year.
All right, that's the panel of coaches that will help us. We're going to start with the West Valley League, and this is the league, of course, that has Taft that won the city title a year ago. Birmingham, Chatsworth, Cleveland, ECR, Granada Hills. They have a great player in Ashley Stride, but a lot of people are talking up Granada Hills. And then there's Armand Mercado's fine team at Taft. We'll start with Birmingham. Will, you're a Valley guy at Verdugo Hills. You'll help us with the West Valley League. Let's talk first about Birmingham High School.
Okay, well, Birmingham, under the direction of Dave Lertzman, his sixth season there, they look like they are poised to go ahead and make a serious challenge, a serious run at Taft and probably Granada. Those figure to be the top three. Looking at Birmingham, their offensive focus is going to be Monique Powell. She's a senior. She is a middle blocker. This year I think they're going to move her around a little bit, some to the outside, and she is really one of their most powerful players. Aisha Newman, another one who will be hitting from the right side, also figures to be a big part of their offense. And their other middle, Sinead Palmer, she's one of the girls who they figure will provide them offense. Birmingham's got size this year, and I think that helps them match up quite well with Taft. And they've got some experienced players as well. Anna Sala as well, who plays middle attack for Birmingham. So what we see with Birmingham is a confident team, an experienced team, and a team that I think has the size to match up with some of the elite programs in the city. Yeah,
Monique Powell had 169 kills last year and 62 blocks. She is the real deal. All right, what about Chatsworth? This is a program, storied tradition there, certainly on the boys' side. What about girls volleyball at Chatsworth?
Well, the story with Chatsworth is there's a new sheriff in town, and that's Jonathan Sheriff. He's the first-year head coach. He's got coaching experience both in the club and city section levels before, but he'll be coming in and bringing a new attitude, new philosophy with those girls over at Chatsworth. He has some experience. He tells me that the defense is going to be their strength, at least early on. He's working with these veteran players and having defense at the core. We'll see how it goes with Chatsworth. But they look to be about middle of the pack in the West Valley.
Cleveland Cavaliers, historically a very strong program. And as we look at some of the Chatsworth young ladies, we'll get to Cleveland momentarily. Here's some of the players that will get it done for the Chatsworth Chancellors.
Yeah, that's right. He especially mentioned that they'd be looking at girls like Rihanna Hill and Raina Roshan.
What about Cleveland High School? Where do they sit?
Well, Cleveland with Jeff Laidlaw at the helm have been steadily improving, although I do understand that they've had a couple of players lost from the offseason, both from graduation and injury. So this could be a bit of a rebuilding situation for Cleveland. I'm sure they were hoping to make that next leap up to the elite teams in the West Valley, and they've just got so many teams there. Taft, Granada, Birmingham, Chatsworth, these teams are tough to get past. So I think Cleveland may find itself struggling, especially early on.
Now, ECR historically in girls' sports, we know in softball and some of the other sports, El Camino Real very strong. How do they fit in here in volleyball?
Well, strangely enough, though, Randy, in volleyball, they haven't been all that storied, at least not recently. Back in the days of Lori Chandler, they were competitive. They were in and out of the playoffs toward the elite. Right now they have a second-year coach, Janelle Lau, and she's got a team of relatively experienced players, but she doesn't quite have the size, and I don't know if they've quite bought into her philosophy just yet.
All right, let's chat about Granada Hills, because this is a Highlander team and a program in all sports that's really coming on. I mentioned Ashley Stride, an outstanding player, but they have some incoming freshman players that I know that you're very high on.
Yeah, Granada Hills, I mean, honestly, talking to coaches around the city section, this is a team that probably had the most buzz. Last year they were second place in the West Valley, but there was a large gap between them and Taft. I think that gap is closing. Taft lost players to graduation. And Granada Hills, Ashley Stride, as you mentioned, her brother was an all-city football player. She's a powerful outside hitter. She's got a senior setter in Gracie Shedd. And they have a lot of height as well. They have these freshmen. One of them, the sister of a former city player of the year, Katie Kaplan, Kelly's little sister, ninth grader. She can play opposite. Two of these ninth graders, two of these freshmen in the starting lineup of one of the most exciting teams in the city. Yeah,
Kelly Kaplan was a great hitter, led her team into the city finals before they got beat. All right, let's chat about Taft. They are the defending champions. I know about Samantha Potter. She was on their championship team last year, a middle blocker. They always have Armand Mercado, truly one of the great coaches in the city. Where's Taft? Are they again the team to beat? Certainly in the West Valley League, they're a factor.
Well, in the West Valley League, they're definitely the team to beat. You have to look at it from the city standpoint, I think, when you talk about Taft. It's not that the West Valley's a foregone conclusion with the other strong teams there, but talking about Taft in terms of city powers, they should be among the elite teams, top two, maybe three teams in the city. Samantha Potter, you mentioned her. She has moved to the outside from the middle, and she had a fantastic offseason. Her summer leagues were terrific. She'll be joined on the outside with Fallon Shaw, another returning all-city player for Taft. But one of the players that I do want to highlight here is Vanessa Garcia. This is a player that Coach Mercado is very high on. He mentions her as being a sort of coach on the floor. He says she's the leader behind the leader, and a quiet leader, someone who, as opposed to a Samantha Potter who's going to give you that energy and give you all that emotion, she's someone who he just trusts completely, and she'll be playing the right side for him. Their setter is going to be a big question. They lost, their outstanding all-city setter last year. So with Sultani gone, Melissa Warwick is going to be assuming the setting responsibilities. They'll run a 5-1. She's just a junior. Could take some time. There's going to be an early preseason matchup between Sylmar and Taft. Look for Sylmar to try and jump all over Taft. That's an important match for Sylmar, and it could have a lot to do with the end of the season seedings.
All right, that's a rundown and a very good look at the West Valley League. So let's check in with the Marine League. Monica Hernandez of Carson will help us here. There's Banning, Carson, Gardena. King Drew finished third in the Marine League last year. Narbonne San Pedro went undefeated, didn't drop a game in the league, dominated this league, ended up being the city runner-ups to the Taft Toreadors, and San Pedro had won the city championship the 2 previous years, and Washington. All right, let's begin with Banning. Where do the Banning team, where do they fit in, Monica?
Banning will probably finish 5th this year. They're without a head coach at this time, but they're going to get some good leadership from returning players in Mika Cruz and Brianna Moai.
Two very good softball players.
Yes, so I think their leadership from that sport will carry over and probably help be the glue to hold their team together as they're trying to get a new head coach at this time.
There is a team that does have a fine head coach. That's Carson. Monica Hernandez. This is your club. I'm sure you know about this team.
Checks in the mail, Randy. Checks in the mail.
I'll be waiting, by the way. You got the right street address.
Right. Exactly. Well, we finished 3rd last year. King Drew finished behind us, and I think we'll be a lot stronger this year. Last year we were young. We were rebuilding. Last year we were rebuilding off of the team that lost Lau Pepa, your favorite Mary Lau Pepa. But this year we're going to have some good key players. One, Abigail Vienna stepped in as a setter for us. She wears her heart on a sleeve. Christiana Tuaniga made All-City last year as a sophomore. Only played 1 game her freshman year. Rosita Fulao is coming back from ACL surgery. Just tremendous athlete. And then Stephanie Mahaley will be playing a little outside for us. Famous Mahaley family. Her brother's playing football in Hawaii. But I think we're going to be a little more athletic this year, more experienced. So I think we're definitely going to contend for the league title, if not 2nd place.
I know Tuaniga had 236 kills for you, so she's obviously your go-to player.
She is our go-to player, and she was 5'11". She's now 6'2". So, yeah, she's our big weapon in the middle.
Now, Narbonne's a very strong team, and they have to be considered a threat here in the Marine League.
Yes, they are, especially under Sophia Ahumada's reign. They took 2nd. And their key player is going to be Keilani Tunavasa, who's only a junior. 5'10" junior, started as a freshman, outside hitter. She's averaging 5 to 6 kills. I mean, she's just their best all-around player. And I think she can contend for City Player of the Year as well. And I think she's going to be this force that will carry Narbonne far in the playoffs.
But when you think in terms of the Marine League, again, it's San Pedro. I mean, this is a team, now I know they have some coaching uncertainties right now, and they've had coaching uncertainties in previous years, but the Pirates have been a dominant team, not only in the city, but certainly in the Marine League, and they're still very good.
That's true. They were the Marine League champions the last 2 years. However, they lost 4 key starters and 1 key reserve. And coming back, though, from those 2 championship teams, as well as the runner-up team last year, is Shannon Miller, who's an outside hitter, 5'10" senior. And then in the middle, it'll be 5'11" Corinne Cuico. I think the big question is who's going to run their offense. Their 2 backup setters, Erin Peskett and Daniela Russell, didn't get much playing time. So they've got big shoes to fill in terms of Samantha Taylor and Antonella Perhat, who was the other setter last year. So it's all going to be a matter of who's going to run that floor. And I think Miller will bring great leadership to him, but who's going to fill in the spots left by Benitez, Bubaka, Taylor, and Jen Miller from 2 years ago.
Now, wait a minute. Will, didn't you say there's another Bubaka coming in? That's what we've heard, right?
That's the word. My understanding is she has a younger sister, a freshman, who apparently coaches are all crazy about, saying that she might even be better than her older sister at that age.
Well, Alex Bubaka had incredible numbers at San Pedro High School. So who wins this league? I know you feel comfortable in saying your Carson team has a real shot. I always like San Pedro because they're the champs, and then someone has to knock them off the throne. And obviously there's some other teams that are very, very talented.
Well, I'm not going to bet the whole farm right now, but I'm going to predict the top 2 will definitely be Carson and Narbonne.
And not San Pedro.
Well, I'm not going to rule them out because the first year they won the championship, they finished 3rd in league. So, and that was a very young team, and it'll be a young team again, so you just never know. But I definitely think it's going to be the typical top 3 as it's been the past few years.
All right, let's move ahead and talk a little Eastern League, some volleyball. This is our first ever girls volleyball show. We're excited about it. Bell, very solid team, really one of the favorites here in the Eastern League. Garfield, Huntington Park, Jordan, Roosevelt, Southeast, and Southgate. Elias Gomez will help us, even though he's from Elizabeth. He's going to spend some time with the Eastern League, and this is a league that we really don't know a whole lot about. We know Bell's pretty good, so Elias, fill us in a little bit on the Eastern League. What can we expect here?
Well, this is a very scrappy league. They all believe in strong defenses, and they all pick up hits that you think are going to hit the ground, but they'll pick them up and they'll return that ball with a good, excellent hit, and they'll find the hole. The favorite team, I would say, would be Bell, just by a hair over Southgate and Huntington Park. All coaches believe that they have the ability to beat each other, and they usually do. One team will start off strong, and then all of a sudden 2 teams will come in and create an upset. So these teams are very strong. Bell has a Luz Gaitan, a junior setter. She'll be feeding her outside hitter, Alejandra De La Rosa, and she finds the open hole. She'll give you a good, solid hit, and she'll get quick points for you. Southgate has Cynthia Andrade, senior outside hitter, who's very quick, very smart, and she also has a strong hit. Susana Torres is the middle block, she's a senior, and she will be the first key of defense for them. She'll be blocking many hits, so they will be a strong defensive team also. Huntington Park has gone to the finals twice.
In the Invitational.
In the Invitational. They come up short twice. And he's going to have a good team. Coach Don Patino always has a good team. They're very scrappy. There's no quit in this Huntington Park team. They'll be down, and they'll all of a sudden come back. They've been down in Game 4 and came back and won Game 5. So they're a very strong team. He has Mary Bellis, which is a senior outside hitter, 4-year player, to lead the way. She's going to be dominating in the middle. And we have Andrea Martinez as their setter. She's quick. She has good hands. She's very accurate, and she will feed that team very well. The other team, Southeast, Roosevelt, they're rebuilding. Southeast is a new team. I believe it's their 2nd or 3rd year. They have Yadira Maldonado, who used to play at Elizabeth, who is their outside hitter, a junior. So she'll make some noise there. But expect a lot of upsets from these teams. Roosevelt is always good and scrappy. And Jordan's always trying to improve. They're always getting better. If their girls' team plays like their boys' team, they'll be a lot better really quick.
Good job, Elias, from top to bottom. You've mapped out the Eastern League for us. We appreciate it. It should be a very competitive Eastern League, Elias is leaning, just a slight lean toward Bell. All right, let's move into the Western League, and a lot of people are talking up Palisades as the favorite team to win the city. I've even heard the term, it's the Valley against Pali this year, with all the Valley teams against Palisades. These are the teams that will challenge, or at least try to challenge, Palisades in the Western League. Fairfax, Hamilton, Palisades, University, Venice, who historically has a pretty solid team, and Westchester's had some good volleyball teams in the past. Monica, we got to start with Palisades. I know they have Alex Lunder, who's a terrific player, had well over 100 kills last year. They got Jenna McAllister, the great setter. This is really a loaded team, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And they didn't lose anybody. They didn't lose anybody. They were young 4 years ago, and this is the team that I think is definitely going to bring Palisades high into either being the number 1 or number 2 team this season, and probably going to win it all. I mean, that's what everyone's talking about. And, you know, you can't beat chemistry like that. 4 years of knowing each other. Lunder, I mean, she's 6 foot, big girl on the outside. And then Rachel Ehrlicher, the other good, or Ehrlich, excuse me, is awesome defensively. It's their best libero. I mean, they went 10-0 and 17-6 overall. I mean, I think Christopher Forrest is going to have a championship team this year.
So with all the big trees, they can see the forest.
Yeah, and that's.
I thought that was a line at least get a chuckle out of you.
The one big loss, though, is she said, she mentioned the roster may look the same, but the coaching switch could have an effect on them. Matt Shubin has departed, gone off to Chaminade. So Chris Forrest has got, to really find that chemistry early on. He's got a team with expectations. I'm curious to see if he's going to be able to get them focused on that championship.
But if you look back at historically with San Pedro, they've had a different coach each year that they've gone to the championship with the young team 3 years ago that 3 years in a row went to the championship despite coaching change. So I think if they all buy into each other's systems, it could be Pali all the way.
Yeah, and Pali's a team that went to the semifinals last year, was ousted by San Pedro, so they've got a taste of getting to the Final Four. I know, Will, you have your mock poll. Is Palisades the number 1 team in this mock poll early on?
That is the consensus, Randy. Right now, you talk to the coaches around the city section, and the feeling is that Palisades, though not a prohibitive favorite, is the favorite team in the city section at this point. And remember, it was semifinals 2 years in a row. So 1 year knocked out by Taft, last year knocked out by San Pedro. I think that they're ready to replace both Taft and San Pedro.
And Venice would probably be the second best team in the league?
Oh, yeah. Coach Allen is in his 17th year running the Gondoliers, running his little ship over there. And they finished tied second in league, split with Uni, and he said he's got a very solid team coming back. He's looking for Sarah McCabe to lead the team, 3-year starter at the setting position. And he said his team's going to be young, but Sarah's going to be the glue that's holding his young team together. And then Kim Davis is another outside hitter for him that's just going to be solid in helping, his team give Palisades a little run in the Western League.
But Palisades, the consensus favorite, certainly in the Western League, and perhaps the team to beat in the city section. We're going to step out. When we come back on our KLCS Volleyball Special, we'll talk about the Sunset 6th League. Will Reinhardt's in that league with Verdugo Hills. We'll find out how the Dons will do. A lot of people like Grant as well. We'll talk about the Sunset 6th next, right here on KLCS. And welcome back to our volleyball special here on KLCS. Girls volleyball, again, the defending champions are the Taft Toreadors, but we've already heard about the Western League's power of the Palisades Dolphins, who historically are very good. And the Palisades Dolphins very good again this year. All right, let's move ahead. We're talking Sunset 6. Will Reinhardt of Verdugo Hills will help us here. These are the teams that make up the Sunset 6 League in the San Fernando Valley. Canoga Park, Grant, which went to the Final Four last year. The North Hollywood Huskies, the Parrots of Polytechnic, the Wolves of Van Nuys. And Van Nuys has won the city championship in girls volleyball before, and it's a very nice program. And there's Will's team at the bottom. That's just alphabetical, Will. Don't get too excited. Yes. Verdugo Hills down at the bottom.
Save the best for last. That's okay.
All right, let's start with maybe the best team in that area, and that would be the Grant Lancers. I know you think they're very, very good.
Yeah, firsthand, I can tell you the Grant Lancers, I think, should not only be the favorite in this league, but also one of the favorite teams in the city section. And that's largely because of the coaching of Ian Lee in his 5th season there, as well as some terrific talent led especially by Chelsea Umana. She is a senior outside hitter, and so she figures to be really one of the dominant players, not only for Grant but in the city. And there you see also Aaliyah Hayes running the middle for Grant. She's one of the other key players. Brooke Matale is the big question mark. There you see Chelsea. And the reason why Brooke is a question mark, it's possible that she may not be returning for her senior season, but instead be completing high school in Hawaii. So if that's the case, that'll be a big question mark for Grant. And Grant, they are a team of question marks right now. Their setter is a big question mark. They had their setter from last year have a lung infection that required surgery. She'll be out for the year. So they're breaking in a new setter. Without Brooke from Hawaii, they could face some real challenges early on, especially. So they're definitely vulnerable, but I think they are the strongest team in the league at this point.
North Hollywood, a new coaching change there?
North Hollywood got a new coach. Tyler Chan will be taking over for longtime coach Seal Miller. And so North Hollywood has struggled. The Huskies have been toward the lower echelon of the league for the last couple of years. They have Vanessa Hernandez back, who's a junior libero. But they'll be, I think, going through some transition, some growing pains this year. Just
a few years ago, we were talking Van Nuys every year, a team that was either winning city championships or very close. Where's the Wolves program right now?
Well, you know, talking about first-year coaches, there'll be a first-year coach over at Van Nuys as well, and that'll be Dave Che. Now, Dave is experienced from the boys side of things. He's been with Van Nuys boys team for several years, but he'll be taking over for Bob Grella, and he will have the advantage, though, of having in the wings, Mr. Dave Bessler, who's a former Coach of the Year in the city section. Here you can see Antran, one of the top players, coming back for the Wolves this year. Wolves will also have Jasmine Shen, and probably their top player, we'll see a picture of her, Yesenia Benitez. She's a senior outside hitter. They are scrappy. They lost some leadership from last year. But we definitely expect them to be challenging Grant for the league title this season. Min Oh, another top player, middle blocker for the Van Nuys Wolves. It'll be interesting to see how they mix with new coach Dave Che.
Well, again, we have a veteran coach at Verdugo Hills. That's you, Will Reinhardt. I know you've done the boys and the girls. You've had success with the boys program and the girls program. But I'm not seeing you in any of your lists as a top-ranked team.
Well, you know, thank you very much for those kind words. And, you know, I mean, as one of the top coaches in the city section, if not the top coach, no, just kidding. You know what? We'll be fine. I think that we'll be able to be in the upper echelon. We'll probably challenge Van Nuys and also Grant. But we just have a lack of size at this point. And where we have size, we don't have the experience. But my setter, Brianna Ladanyaga, she's top-notch. She's going to be, I think, helping our team. Alyssa Johnson, our top outside hitter. You get a chance to see Ann Dodge. She's one of our defensive specialists. And Chelsea Latore, who I think has a shot at all city as a libero. And we also have some players coming up from the JV. You see Valerie Gaitan at outside. Abby Verdi, who last year came from Alemany, has joined us. A second-year player there, Sandy Paquillo, who's a defensive specialist. Junior Shelby Simonson will help us on the outside. So we have a mix of talent. Noelle Arias is a soccer player who's joining us this year, and Claire Tulfo, another DS. But I'm very excited about our team. There you see Brianna. Her sister was an all-city player. I think she's got some ability. Our middles, Lauren Lumpkin and Lenice Cobb, who's not photographed here, are big. They're just not terribly experienced. And so we'll just have to see how things shape up with them. But I'm looking forward to a very good season. I think we'll give Grant all they can handle, and maybe second place. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
So you think Grant's the team to beat despite some of their question marks?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think Chelsea's good enough that whoever throws the ball up, she'll be able to get her share of kills. So I think Grant is the toughest team right now. They're the defending champs until someone proves otherwise. They're the team to beat.
All right, let's move into the Coliseum League. I love the Coliseum League. It's got great athletic talent throughout. We talk football and basketball, but they're pretty good in volleyball too, and they're getting better. Crenshaw, Dorsey, Fremont, these are just powerful football and basketball teams. Jefferson, Locke, and Manual Arts. Elias Gomez is going to help us with the Coliseum League. So, Elias, first an overview here. I look at this league and I know it's athletically gifted. Where are they in girls volleyball as a league as a whole?
Well, as a league, they're moving up. They're making quick paces to the top. Manual Arts has been one of the teams that has dominated this league and done well in the city tournament. They've been ranked up to about 6, I believe, past few years. So they are doing well. this year they're going to have 3 juniors, Ileana Gonzalez, Cynthia Bello, and Virginia Marrero, leading the way for them at middle block and outside hit. So they're very young. They're going to be here for 2 more years, and they're going to be the team to beat in this Coliseum League. Jefferson is going to make a run from this year. Coach Salocho is very excited. He has Elizabeth Leal, Ana Hernandez, and Karina Monteon. They're all getting better. They're all getting much faster. He says their defense has improved, and they think they're going to be able to beat Manual Arts this year. And it's going to be a tough one at the very end for Jefferson to take Manual Arts. I think Manual Arts is still going to be the team in this league. Locke has Belsabeth Rincon, who's going to have to carry the team because I think they only have 1 outside hitter. The other outside hitter is brand new. She's barely learning the game. And Fremont and Crenshaw and Dorsey are at the bottom of the list right now. But there's a lot of talent at Crenshaw and Dorsey. They just need some more guidance to improve their game. They just need some tips here and there. The girls are very athletic and they're very talented, and they can produce some upsets, and I do see them upsetting some of the teams. But once again, Manual Arts is probably the team to beat.
It is interesting that a Manual Arts would jump out like that and be a power in girls volleyball, and the rest of the league kind of lags behind. Will, you got any reason why that might have happened?
You know, you got to give credit where credit is due. You know, Trent Cornelius, who's now an official with the city section athletics office, helped build that program up, and it's in an area where the other programs, there's not a lot of club teams. They haven't had the opportunity to really develop. So, you know, Manual Arts now under Minor Santizo have had a really strong program. They're a team that goes out, looks for tough tournaments. They schedule tough in the preseason, and they build from within, and you got to give them credit. I mean, I think all of us have had that experience with Manual. That's a team that you don't take for granted.
I know you're very high on Trent Cornelius and what he did. It brought a smile to your face, Monica.
Well, he's always had a good, tough team, and then, you know, he also did very well, too, when he was the girls' basketball coach there as well. So, I mean, Trenton really did a good job at Manual, and Minor's obviously filling his steps really well, too. So, I mean, you can't put it past Manual Arts. I mean, they'll probably be a very good team to contend in there.
Yeah, they own that league, man. Yeah. They own it.
And they're probably the only team who does have members that play club, which is the most important thing. Crenshaw and Dorsey, I don't believe hardly any of the girls play club, and Manual Arts girls are playing year-round. So they do have that advantage over the other teams in that league.
All right, let's move into the Valley Mission League. Again, Will Reinhardt, since it's a Valley League, the fact that he hails from Verdugo Hills, will assist us with the Valley Mission League. Kennedy, Monroe, Panorama, new name, Reseda, which was pretty good last year. We didn't talk the Regents up, but Reseda was a very successful volleyball team last year. San Fernando and Sylmar, under Bob Thompson, historically a power, and Thompson's unit was perfect in the Valley Mission League last year, Will. They were 10-0. So can anybody confront the Thompsonites?
No, they can't, actually. I got news for anybody who's listening that Sylmar is going to win their 14th league championship. Bob Thompson, in his 22nd season, has done a magnificent job over there. And they set the standard in the Valley Mission. Actually, they set the standard for the Valley in general. They've got a great tournament that they run every year. Their top players, Carmen Rodriguez, the middle blocker, looks like she's going to be able to stop just about anybody at the net. She's got great timing on her leaps. Alma Nunez, another middle blocker, give them some size up the middle, and they're also able to attack pretty well from the middle. After that, they're scrappy, they're athletic, they're well coached, they're disciplined. So now the bad news for everyone else in the Valley Mission, especially when Van Nuys joined us in the Sunset 6 League, it's going to be everyone else chasing for second. And it looks like the Tigers might be the ones to get there this year.
All right, tell us about San Fernando. If you're going to build the Tigers into a number 2 team and a potential playoff team, what does San Fernando offer?
Well, you know, Manny Flores, who's in his 3rd season there, has got a young program. I think San Fernando's only had a team for about 5 years. But they finished 3rd last year, and they look to be moving up. They've got more experience. Janice Muniz, 11th grader. She's an outside hitter. And Liz Zamora, a 12th grader, who's a libero. They are going to be the anchor in terms of leadership. But I saw them in the Summer League, and they were hanging with everybody, including the Granada Hillses, including the Tafts. You know, losing more than they were winning against the elite teams, but able to challenge. And so I think the Tigers look to be probably a second-place team in that league.
Well, that's the spot Reseda was in last year, so where do you put the Regents this year?
Well, I talked to Glory Jew, the head coach over there at Reseda. She's in her 14th season there, and she says this is a rebuilding season. She was very forthright about it. Figures maybe 5th place. and that's a pretty big drop from their second place finish last year. But that's the reality. She thinks that they need some time to grow up, and she mentioned some players, including Tutron, who's her senior setter. Always good to have a senior setting the ball, and Lindsay Mahoney, their middle blocker, is a senior. But she just didn't feel they'd have the ability to be at the top echelon this season.
Getting back to Sylmar, are they a threat to win the city championship?
Clearly they are. They have, in 2000, they won the city title, and they're perennially a quarterfinalist, if not higher. So I would expect to see them perhaps top 5, certainly top 8 in the city section.
We're seeing some of the players that will make the Sylmar team a threat in the city section, and again, it's a deep and talented squad.
Yeah, and there you see Isabel Moncada. She's the setter for Sylmar this year. She's going to be, she's got terrific hands, and she's got good decision making. So she has a lot of weapons to set. They're not afraid to run attack out of the back row. I think that Sylmar's going to make a lot of noise. And as I mentioned to you a little bit earlier, there's an early matchup with Sylmar against Taft in the preseason.
And that's a big seedings match.
Crucial, especially for Sylmar, because they don't have the same kind of depth that the West Valley does. They should blow 10-0, blow right through these other teams, probably mostly sweeping them 3-0. So we'll get a better idea of where they stand in the tournaments and also in that match against Taft.
All right, let's move our attention to the Northern League. The Northern League, which has Belmont, Eagle Rock, which has had some athletic success in recent years in a number of different sports, Franklin, Lincoln, Marshall, and Wilson. Monica Hernandez of Carson will assist us with this league. I know Vicky Delgado, a junior player at Eagle Rock, is very good, but I don't know much about the Northern League. Give us some in-depth reporting here, if you will, Monica. Where do we sit with this league?
I think they're going to be contending, especially in playoff time. In talking with Tim Berger around his team at Eagle Rock, this is his second year, and they finished second. Actually, they finished 4th in league last year, but he's coming back with a lot of experience. And he said his team peaked at the right time. They built right at the end, and his libero, Vicky Delgado, was averaging 22 digs just in playoffs. And that's what carried them far until they lost, I believe, in the semifinals to Huntington Park. And then he's also looking to his other girl, senior outside hitter Hershey Canta, and she's going to be their go-to girl offensively. And he hopes that with all his new players, he's got a setter, Misty Winters, and Ashley Velez, who's one of the school's best basketball players, going to make that transition to volleyball, that they're going to have a breakout season and probably lead them either to the league championship or at least second place this time. So they're really going to be coming back strong. In terms of Marshall, they were league champs last year. So he thinks that will also be one of their biggest, and they're coached by Adina Mori, and they're going to be another strong team. Last year they didn't lose too many players, but they're going to have strong players in terms of Amanda Manahan and Cindy Sevilla, so they'll be their go-to players to get that team to be back at being league champions. And then coming up next will probably be Wilson. They finished 2nd in league. And then Franklin. Those will be the other 2 teams I think that will be contending for those top 3 spots in league. And they didn't lose too many players, so they're coming back definitely with a lot of experience in both.
These are teams that will probably fight it out in the invitational level. They're not going to be at the elite where they're playing the Tafts and the Palisades.
No, they'll most definitely be fighting for high spots in the invitational. But, I mean, they've got a chance to win it. And win it all.
And Eagle Rock, that's a team that's very plucky. Thomas Puzio was there for all those years. Bergeron, the new coach there, is one of his proteges. He's got good fundamentals. Eagle Rock, Marshall, they're not huge, but they're tenacious.
Does that mean scrappy and tenacious?
They've got a lot of pluck, a lot of character. Okay. You know what I mean? A lot of moxie. You know about moxie, right?
I do.
Okay.
And having played those Eagle Rock teams before under Puzio, I mean, yeah, they're not going to give up. They'll come at you hard.
Well, think about this. You mentioned earlier, Monica, that they were seeded some ridiculously low number, like 31 last year in the Invitational, and they made it to the semis. So that tells me that their team does peak late, as you said, and also, has a lot of character, a lot of pluck.
They're plucky. All right, we're going to come back and go to the South. We're going to talk about the Southern League when we come back. This is Girls Volleyball. It's our first ever special on KLCS. Please stay with us. And welcome back on KLCS. This is our volleyball special. We're going to move ahead to the Southern League. Elias Gomez of Elizabeth High School will assist us in commenting about the Southern League. Bravo, Contreras, Elizabeth, Hollywood, the Sheiks, Los Angeles, and Santee. Many of these schools will be in the up, but Elizabeth is going to be in the small schools division. So it's kind of a little bit of a cross-section of teams here. And Elias, help us with that. Why do you guys play in the small schools? I would imagine it's enrollment, and the rest of these are playing with the invitational and elite teams in the city section.
Well, in order to be small school, you need to have 1,250 students and less. Elizabeth has 650 students, so they qualify for the small school division. Los Angeles, Hollywood, they all, I believe, have at least 3,000 students. Santee has over 2,000 students. And the new school, Contreras, is going to have about 2,000 students. So they're all considered large school, and they have to go into the city invitational bracket. Since Elizabeth has 650, we are considered small school.
All right, you won the championship last year. Let's start with your club at Elizabeth, the Bulldogs. I mean, you had a big bite in the invitational side, too, because you won the invitational championship 2 years ago. So you have a championship caliber program. You got to feel pretty good about the direction of your school.
Well, we have a pretty good coaching staff. I don't do it myself. I have a couple assistants who help out, and they're always willing to work hard. Elizabeth this year is going to be a good team also. There's some highlights from our team. Our setter is going to be our leader. Brenda Salas came in last year for Giovanna Serrato, who got injured, and she did a great job that game. We have our senior, Cynthia Gomez, who's an excellent passer. Our sophomore outside hitter is going to be surprising a lot of people in these games. Norma Perez is an 8th grader coming in. And we have a bunch of girls from the JV coming up because we've lost several players. There's Brenda, who's going to be our leader again this year, and she's bringing in her little sister, who's going to help us out this year. Beatrice is a middle blocker who's going to help us out a little bit, and Jessica Perez is also a back row specialist. I have many Jessicas and I have many Perez's on the team, so I get them all confused.
But you get them in the right spot.
But we get them in the right spot. Yes, we do. Brenda's going to be our leader. She's the smart one. She sets very well. She serves very well. She has a drop shot that just floats right over the net and comes on in. Jeanette Melendez is starting to hit this year. Last year she was more defensive, and in the playoffs she started to hit a lot more. And we have Amber Fuentes, who is our outside hitter. She finds the hole. I don't know how she does it, but she just finds the hole. She has a great serve also, just zooms right over the net and causes the other team to give us a free ball, and whenever they give us a free ball, we try to make a good attack on it.
I know you're powerful in the small schools division. We're going to get to these other 3 leagues, and they're all small schools that'll play against you in the playoffs. But in your league, who else will make a run? I know it's a Southern League. You're the small school against the bigger schools. Who are the teams that are going to contest you?
Bravo is always an excellent team. They are a great defensive team. They will always give us a good game. They're led by Susan Sieve, a senior outside hitter. She's their team leader. She's an excellent hitter. They have Tricia Bataclan, their defensive specialist. She picks up almost every single ball that you hit back there. She gives us headaches. We have to hit her in the corners to avoid her. And they have an excellent middle blocker in Catherine Salvadora. Very tall, long arms, blocks many hits up the middle. So she's going to be a threat, and they're an excellent defensive team. Los Angeles is also a good team this year. They were young last year. They only lost 1 player. They have Martha Martinez, a senior outside hitter, very good. She hits very well. She finds the hole. And they have another outside hitter in Nicolette Cheatham. She's a great all-around player. She can play back row. She has an excellent serve. She's going to give us a hard time also. Hollywood is a team that's up and coming. They have 2 seniors this year, in Veronica Perez and Katarina Cruz. They both have to have a good season in order to make a run at playoffs for this year.
Anyone else in the league going to do any damage?
Santee is in their 3rd year. They're learning to play. They're brand new. And Contreras is a brand new team. I have no idea how they're going to be, but it's a brand new team.
All right, let's move ahead and talk about the Valley League. Will, once again, will assist us here with the Valley League. Again, a lot of new schools and teams that haven't been around a long time, and these are all small schools. Arleta, Discovery, I can't even name all the nicknames in this league. East Valley, Fulton, Northridge, Sherman Oaks, CES, the Valley Alternative, and they do have some good players, and Vaughan High School. I mean, again, these are new names, new schools, Will Reinhardt. map it out in the newly formed Valley League for us.
Well, I mean, I'm glad it's actually Elias's headache and not mine to play against these teams, because it's a little difficult to know what to expect. Obviously, Mike Soto over at Valley Alt has been an established program. He enters the tournaments. He's there every year come playoff time. But last year we were talking about Northridge and Discovery Prep coming out of this league, and specifically Northridge, they've got Samantha Seals, their middle blocker, who's going to be probably one of the top players in the league this year. But it's anybody's guess. It's a real grab bag, because with all the new charter schools and the new school construction opening up smaller high schools, you're going to see more and more of this, Randy, and it'll be interesting, because as these teams become more established, they'll be a lot more competitive. It's tough to pick this year. You probably have to say Northridge, possibly Discovery Prep, looking strong in the Valley League.
I know, Elias, again, these are some of the teams you're going to probably have to battle in the playoffs. You got any thoughts about any of these Valley teams? Have you seen any of them?
Well, Sherman Oaks traditionally has a good program. They can make a run, but I agree, Northridge is going to be the top team, and they have Samantha Seals, excellent middle blocker and middle hitter. She is very good. She's going to be the one who you need to stop in order to beat this team.
And they gave you a tough time last year.
They gave us a tough time in the semifinals. They gave us actually the best game we had in our playoffs. They were very tough, and I believe they only lost one player, so they're going to be an excellent team this year.
All right, let's move ahead, and we'll talk about the Freeway League. Again, these are teams that will move in and play in the small schools division. We know about Annenberg, the Panthers. They got a great player in Wilkerson. Tremendous team, went to the finals, lost to Elizabeth last year in the small schools bracket. Central City Orthopedic, Maywood Academy, USC Mast, and West Adams. And Elias, you'll help us here. And we could just start with Annenberg. Firsthand, you saw them last year. You defeated this team in the finals. You defeated them rather handily. There was a couple tough games, but you had the game pretty much in hand throughout. What about Annenberg this year?
Annenberg's going to have their middle hitter again, Cashel Wilkerson. She's a senior. She's a great hitter. She's played club this year, so she's going to be a lot better this year. She'll be a better passer, which was one of her weaknesses last year. She hits very well. She's going to have a new setter in Jackie Ayala this year to help her out. But Orthopedic is a team that seems to be on the rise. They had 4 all-league players last year. They'll be playing against them this year. And they have a new girl, a Darkest Branch, 9th grade, 6 foot, plays club. So she's going to be a threat. She's going to be helping out Lucia Juarez and Lisette Pavon at Orthopedic. Now, Maywood is under a new coach. They have Sergio Chavez. He's one of my former assistants. So he understands the game very well, and he knows what it's going to take to win. And he's a big believer in defense, just as we are. He has Denise Madrid, a 10th grade libero, who is an excellent passer, and he has Cynthia Enriquez, is a setter. She has good hands, very accurate. So they're going to make a good run. This is only their second year, but it's his first year coaching, and I think he's going to make a big impact on that team.
Well, I know you saw Wilkerson play last year firsthand when you were calling the action on TV. As an analyst, your thoughts on Wilkerson and where she stands as one of the better players in the city?
Well, hearing Elias say that she's played club, that's obviously going to give her a lot more polish, and she wouldn't have had the time off. She wouldn't be rusty. She's got a great physique. It's a matter of just finding a way to be consistent, and I think Annenberg's pretty committed to using her any and every time they can. She plays back row. They don't have any problem setting her in the back row. She can block really, really well. So in the small school division, I would say she could be one of the top players, certainly, and maybe even, if you matched her up against the big schools as well. Yeah.
All right, the final league we want to talk about is the Crosstown League. And again, this is also a small schools division, and the teams out of this league will try and challenge Elizabeth for the small schools title in mid-November. There's Community Harvest, Fauché, Laces, Marlton, and View Park. And Monica, I'll turn my attention to you here. We appreciate you assisting us in a league that you're really not that familiar with. But tell us, if you will, a little bit about the Crosstown League.
Well, probably looking to take the league again will be Fauché under the direction of Peter De Leon. The Wolverines finished 8-0. They won league, and according to the coaches from Laces and View Park, I mean, they're going to be the top team again this time, and that's going to be their biggest challenge, is to try to take off a game with them or split. And second, it'll be Laces, who's led by Jeffrey Nakawaga. That's their coach, the second year, and he's looking to see some strong game from Kristen Nishimoto. She's a senior setter. She's very dedicated to the game. Dominique Thompson and Melissa Goodall. Again, things that are going to help this team is all those girls play club, and they've picked up the game very well. They're playing year-round. So, I mean, they're going to be a contender there, too, I think, in terms of the small schools division. And then finishing in third last year was View Park Prep, and that's the coach there is Key Williams. This is her third season. So in talking with her, she seems that this team has got a lot of heart, a lot of passion, because when this program started 3 years ago, the seniors on this team were those sophomores 3 years ago. So she's hoping that their heart, their desire in Candace Branch, Zara Rogers, and Asada Madison, as well as Samantha Campbell, will carry them through and maybe finish in the top 2.
All right, that's a good synopsis of the Crosstown League, but you like Fauché, you like the Wolverines.
Well, according to the Laces coach in View Park, they're good competition, so they're predicting them, but you never know.
Well, Fauché and Laces did play club under Trent Cornelius this year, so they had some good coaching during this break, so they're going to be ready, and they're going to make a run.
All right, let's get into some topics for discussion here. This is our first ever girls volleyball preview show, and I know historically the southern section has been stronger than the city section. The city section has lagged behind. Now, they've had some individual teams that have been very solid. Where are we right now with city section girls volleyball? Has it made any movement up when it gets to state tournaments to challenge some of these southern section schools?
No. But movement, yes, there's been some lateral movement, little baby steps, but right now there's still just no comparison between what we're seeing from the San Diego section, the southern section, and the city section, at least top to bottom. We have had some terrific teams, but even as good as a team like San Pedro or Carson, Taft last year, the teams have not been doing well in the state tournament, and I think that's a big reason why we've got to turn our focus and attention to developing young players to get them to that point. Because if they're not playing club year-round, that's the other option, is to develop them from the 8th, 9th, 10th grade levels to try and make them stronger.
And to that end, now we're going to have freshmen and sophomore in their own division now. So some of the schools now have implemented a Frosh Soft program, so we're going to see some Frosh Soft volleyball.
Yes, one. I think mostly from the Valley teams. Unfortunately, our league isn't having one, but it'd be nice, hopefully, in the next couple of years, be able to field a Frosh Soft team.
Elias, how far are we away from seeing Frosh Soft volleyball at the smaller school division where they can field more and more teams, or is that still a few years away?
I believe that's still a few years away because many of these small schools only have varsity. They don't even have a JV, so to fill a third team is going to be very tough on them, which is going to make it very hard on us to improve our play also. We had our first taste of state playoffs this year, and that state team is very good. And we are a step or two behind, but in a few years I believe we can make some moves in that state level.
You know, and when we look at the city section and talking about Frosh Soft, I think it's really benefited the Valley teams. Of the 18 comprehensive high schools in the Valley that are competing, 15 of those 18 are going to have Frosh Soft teams. Many of us have already had them for the last 3, 4, 5 years. And you look at the quarterfinals last year, I think 7 of the 8 teams in the quarterfinals were from the Valley side, maybe 6 of the 8 teams. So it's helping a lot.
Some rule changes this year. I know there's a changing of letting the libero serve. I think that's a change. Tell us about that.
Yeah, well, more and more you're seeing the rules coming in line with the college rules and the international and club rules. That's one improvement. If you have a terrific player in the past, defensive player, she couldn't serve. You'd have to take her out and either have a serving specialist or have a middle serve for you. Now you get to let her serve in one rotation, so you can take advantage of it. If your libero is a strong server, it should be good for all the coaches.
In many cases, the libero is an excellent server. Yeah. My libero has always been pretty good, but she has not been allowed to serve, and that's something that hurts our team. And now that she can serve this year, we're going to have an additional server who can help us get additional points at times.
I know it's tough to find teachers in any school district. It's also tough to find coaches. We've had an abundance of changing of the guards, coaching changes in girls volleyball. Why? Why are they all leaving? Why are they all changing? I mean, San Pedro has had this great program, and every year it's a different coach, it seems.
Well, in some cases it's been retirement, but more than that, I mean, we saw Greg Salzberg leaving Chatsworth. So Chatsworth's new coach is kind of due to that, but I think it has a lot to do with, the difficult nature of the job. I mean, sometimes you don't have administrative support. Other times it's just difficult to put that many hours in, and the pay is a little bit...
Right, and I think to the southern section, when you look at they're not They still have rules like we do, but they're not as tight as we are in terms of like professional development days. We don't get to practice on those days, but a Southern section school does. So there's a lot of times we're missing out on practicing on a Tuesday, and your best competitor could be that next game on Wednesday. I mean, that's going to be a perfect example for me this year.
Will Reinhardt, thank you very much for Verdugo Hills. Yeah, Monica Hernandez, best at Carson. Good luck to the Colts. And Elias Gomez, maybe bring back another championship for Elizabeth.
We are looking forward to it. We're hoping.
We're going to come back and tell you about the best players and the best teams, who those people and teams might be, right after this on KLCS. And welcome back on KLCS. This is our volleyball preview show. It's time to get into the best players. Who are the individuals that are going to dominate in the city section? Well, we'll start with Alex Lunder, really a candidate for Player of the Year. Alex is a 4-year starter, and she had 131 kills last year. Her teammate, the very fine setter, Jenna McAllister, another veteran player who had 377 assists a year ago. Ashley Stride will lead that fine young Granada Hills team. She is the veteran player. She had 137 kills a season ago. Christina Tuaniga, outstanding player, over 200 kills last year. The University of Hawaii are looking at her services, potentially a Division I player there from Carson and Tuaniga. There's other great players. Of course, Cashel Wilkerson, we saw play for Annenberg and take the Panthers into the small schools finals last year. Great at the net, blocking and hitting. Had to learn a little bit in the back row, and she's got some club experience now. Thus, she's one of the best in the city. Then there's Kailana Tanavasa, and Tanavasa is terrific. 161 kills a year ago. She can really pound the ball. Shannon Miller of San Pedro is an all-around talent, over 160 kills last season. 2 times she's been on a city championship team. Samantha Potter, who played on Taft's championship team in the middle, very, very talented. She should have a big-time senior season. Other players will have an impact. Monique Powell is terrific for Birmingham. She's 6'2", and she can really put it down. Gracie Shedd is an outstanding setter, really one of the top setters in the city for Granada Hills. Then there's Chelsea Umana, mature, all-around player, another player who is a candidate for City Player of the Year, a terrific all-around player. Looks like an assistant coach. She's so good out there. And Sarah McCabe, the left-handed setter of the Venice Gondoliers, another terrific performer this year in the city section. Those are the top players. Well, who are the top teams? Let's check out that list. The 2 teams that might get to the city finals of mid-November. Carson, the Colts, young team last year, didn't do all that well in the Marine League. They feel they're ready to go. Monica Hernandez has talked her team up. She thinks she's got a shot. There's the Granada Hills Highlanders. We know they have Ashley Stride, but they got young players. They got the young Kaplan sister coming in, and Granada Hills is for real. And with Chelsea Umana on the team, you got to have Grant on the list as well. San Pedro's been to the finals the last 3 years. They runner-up last year after winning it twice. Sylmar was perfect in their league, 10-0, and Taft won it last year. But I got to believe all teams have to look at Palisades. The Dolphins with a veteran club. We've talked about Alex Lunder and Jenna McAllister. Teal Johnson is another terrific player. They're deep, they're talented, they're experienced. Palisades is the squad to beat, one would think. So as we wrap up our volleyball special, it really is the Valley versus Pali. The Valley's been so good in recent years in so many sports, but keep in mind, too, San Pedro's been the team from the other side of the hill that's done well. Our last 2 city championship matches in volleyball were San Pedro and Taft. Taft won last year. The Pirates won the year before. But this year, the favorite is Palisades. We'll see if the Valley teams can knock off Pali. Again, we want to thank all our coaches that came by today. Monica Hernandez from Carson, Will Reinhardt, of course, from Verdugo Hills, and Elias Gomez from Elizabeth. Enjoy the season. It figures to be another grand old time in girls volleyball in the city section. We'll see if Pali can win it in mid-November. For our entire KLCS staff, I'm Randy Rosenbloom saying so long for now.